The book that we are launching, Journeys with Wolves and Lambs, and I'm a zoologist by training and by practice, has nothing to do with the animals, wolves and lambs. So my apologies to the zoologists in our midst. And if the Research Week thought that I was going to speak about vertebrate zoology, my further apologies. But it's not about animals, at least not the four-footed variety. It's more about the two-footed varieties and the experiences, the perspectives, and the lives that are thrown before us by them. It is about life as I have perceived it. I have tried very hard not to make this a story of my life. And I struggled with how to do that over quite a long time. So you may think of it not so much as a story of my life, but the perspectives on life as I have seen and lived it. And so this is one of the books where you can start anywhere and finish anywhere. You don't have to read everything. But we hope that you will read everything. And in reading, you will get some sense of how I have developed as a person, my perspectives, my challenges, and so on. The genesis of the book goes back to a lecture I gave about 5 years ago when the Caribbean Graduate School of Theology honored me as an honorary fellow of that school. And I was asked to give a so-called distinguished lecture. I struggled long and hard about what I would say to theologians, Christian educators, and so on, because I could not count myself as any of those. And after a while, I recognized that I should not venture into the field of theology, although I had been known to dabble in it for a while, nor Christian education, which for me was no more than Sunday school teaching. I decided that I would simply give my own perspective on life as a scientist. Not just as a scientist, but somebody who had myself been in business for a while and still am to a certain extent. And also had worked in the area of justice and others. And I thought that perhaps I should give something of my perspectives and how these molded and merged in my life into the whole that I now am. The organizers, Las Newman, by the way, was the president, is the president, and he told me, Barry, speak for 40 minutes and leave 20 minutes for questions and answers. The truth is that I went on for nearly an hour. And then the chairman of the occasion came up and said, well, because of the lateness of the time, we'll only take just a few questions. Half an hour later, the questions were still coming. And at the end of it, to my shock, absolute shock, the audience stood up and gave a standing ovation. I don't know because the chairs were hard and they had tired of seating. But that was the least what I expected. And then even after the presentation, a number of people gathered around me, and the discussion went on for another half hour. I should let you know that I had just had a back operation just 3 weeks before, and I was pained to no end. But as the conversation went on, I completely forgot about that. And it just went on and on and on. And then a friend of mine came up to me and said, but Barry, you haven't spoken about your work in Kingston Harbor. You haven't spoken about your work with student movement, ISCF or IVCF. You haven't spoken about your travels in Africa, and went on and on what I haven't done. And then last, to his credit and to my chagrin, said, well, Barry, you'll just have to write a book of all your journeys. And that was the genesis of the book. I thought long and hard about what I would write. But last was always that, Barry, you have to write. So I give last the credit, and I apologize that Wolves and Lambs, as I said, turned out to be perspectives on life. So here is the book. I've enjoyed writing it a great deal, and I hope you will enjoy reading it as much as I have enjoyed writing it. The book is dedicated to my grandchildren. And if you want to get the names, there is Aquia, there is Kwame, and there is Kwabena. And by that you will guess that they are not in Jamaica, they're not Jamaican bound, they're in Ghana. And I only get to see them once every 2 years or so. So my wife and I, Merle, who is here, thank you, has always been saying, well, can we grow up without really knowing our grandchildren? And will they grow up without knowing us? So they were really the inspiration for this book. I regard the writing of this book as my legacy to them and their heritage, because those separated at many miles, and we only see them, as I said, occasionally, yet in a very real sense, we are bonded across the seas in a way that is, to me, to us, quite unique and quite and very strong. So there is as much Jamaican in them as they are Ghanaian. I regret that Ghana lost the football last night, but anyway, they did very well. So this book is dedicated to my grandchildren, in whom I said, in whom reside my endings and my beginnings. Towards the end of the book, I speak of my life as a cyclist in my latter years, and I make the point that a cyclist knows no beginning and ending, and that's where really what life is: no real beginning and no ending. It is a continuum. Please enjoy reading the book. As I said, as much as I have enjoyed writing it, please purchase the book. And let me know, let us have your comments. As Lass has indicated, my first book, Mystery of the Margins, is also here, if some of you have not yet received it. Thank you very much.